Beck is saying if I had to choose, but it doesn't have to be a national park. I already said I'd choose the Kwanda, 80 kilometers of Kwanda river frontage in northern Botswana would be my spot. No, it doesn't count, apparently. It has to be a national park. Then it would have to be probably Chobe National Park in Botswana, just because it's quite similar to that 80 kilometers of river frontage that I love so much. Let's see if we can get one last view. Now, of course, there's incredibly high densities of wild dog in that area, which is my favorite. There you going now, little Tlalamba. Keeping a close eye on us. So I'm just trying to see where Mom is, but she's somewhere in this big green bush up ahead here. Okay, well, I'll give you a quick view of her, and then we're going to sit tight here. And you got her there, VM, or I need forward a bit more. I don't know if I can go forward a bit more. There we go. Okay, well, we're going to sit with her for a little bit longer. In the meantime, we're going to send you back across to Ralph, who's on the microscope.
Thanks, Brent, and I am on the microscope. I'm just trying to keep it nice and steady here for you, and this is one of the nasty little guys that we have out here, but very important once again in the ecosystem. Like I was chatting there when we just had a little brief moment on the whiteboard. Remember, yes, we might think they're pests. No, we don't want to keep a tick as a pet. I think that would be a terrible pet. But we think of them as pests. But yes, they can be. They bite onto our legs. They give us itchy spots, and they also can give us quite nasty diseases like Lyme's disease, and we can also get tick bite fever, which is very common here in this part of the world where we live, and this is one of the guys that does give us tick bite fever. Remember that these ticks are in fact arachnids. They do have 8 legs, but they're very often misinterpreted or misidentified, because we get tiny little ticks that we call pepper ticks, and people think that's a different species to this one, to the blue ticks that we see on the lions and on the giraffe and all of that. In fact, a lot of the time it's part of the same species. And this tick that we're looking at now, this red one, it's in the second phase of its life cycle. So this is a nymph of a tick. So before that, the little pepper tick, that's the little larva phase. Then this is the nymph, and then it moves on to the adult, which is that blue tick that we see on a lot of the animals, from lions to giraffe to wildebeest, etc. And look at those appendages. What it's doing, if you move a piece of grass, and he would normally be on the tip of this grass as he's being wafted around by the wind, and he'd feel some vibration, and that's what he's doing. Every time he feels a little bit of vibration, he puts those front appendages out and getting ready to grab onto the animal as it walks past. So it's almost like a little bit of a taxi. He feels that vibration, and he puts his arms out, and then he grabs out. Okay, everyone, let's head back to Brent. Very exciting, that side.
Okay, we just heard Thandi pulling the carcass through the bush, which means she might be trying to put it up a tree now that they've eaten quite a bit on it. We're not sure exactly what it is. It could be a bushbuck. We're just waiting to see. Can you see any little white spots on it, Vim? Not yet. Could be an Impala. It could have been one of the ones that were born this year. So nearly an adult Impala. But we can't really see. We just caught a glimpse of her now. My binoculars gone. Wait, she's going to give me another look. It's a bushbuck. No, it's an Impala. It looks like a female Impala or a young male from this year. Okay, Tlalamba is also run down. Let's move round. Carmen, it's possible that leopards might lose their kills to vultures, but highly unlikely. Oh, this is good. She's moving it into a much better spot for us. Now, that's why I said why I chose to sit here and be patient for the whole afternoon. Because if you wait, you do get chances at much better sightings than if you don't just play the patience game. And I'm a very big believer in the patience game. Now, she could take it into an area that's even worse, but at least we saw her dragging it. So I'm just going to go very... You got them? Okay. There she is. Oh, she dragged it fast. As I say, I think there's a milkberry tree up ahead here that she's going to try put it in. And her mom, I've seen Kruger had kills in that very same milkberry tree. Now, oh, she's snarling at Tlalamba. With Thandi, you must remember that each individual leopard is different. So when I am viewing Thandi, I always give her a little bit more space than Hosana or Tengana or even Shadulu. And that way she doesn't seem to react as badly. It's always good to just, as soon as you get to know the animals better, you change your behavior with them. Okay, then I'm going to roll forward. So I think she's going to take it up the milkberry tree. Oh, there's my thing locking. Little Tlalamba is following her, running after her. There we go. I think, how's that, Vim? You're going to get a good shot of it going up the tree? Forward, sorry. Oh, we've got a booming rain roof on today, which is causing a bit of havoc. There we go. So she's gone straight to that milkberry tree. Isn't that awesome? Well done, Thandi. Look how big your tummy is. But at this time of the day, it is the time of the day when the hyenas are going to start getting moving. And this carcass, oh, there we go. Up she goes. Right. Look at that. She's, whoa, nearly fell there, but she's taking it really high. Awesome, absolutely amazing. Now you can see that strength. Well, she hasn't finished munching on it yet. Little Tlalamba is looking forlornly from the floor. Your tummy's still full, little one. Isn't that incredible? Mr. Public, epic indeed. Even, we do apologize about that little bit of canvas there. Well, here we go. She's coming down the tree. Isn't that beautiful? Looks like she might rest there for a little bit. She's doing a bit of preening. Tlalamba is now looking like she might want to go up the tree. Off she goes. And she's coming to the base of the tree there, Vim. Now, there we go. Victor cubs, not quite ready to go up yet. Victor cubs start hunting from them by themselves from when they're younger than Tlalamba, but little things, insects and birds and squirrels, but normally at about 18 months, or 15 months to 18 months, they'll be able to catch something big. Normally it'll be small stuff for quite a long time, scrub hares, terrapins. Here we go. Are we going to go up, or are we just going to play around the base? There we go. Thinking about it, but not being very serious about it. There we go, here we go. No, we're going to lie down. I thought we were crouching to jump, but we're not. And here comes the rain again, out of absolutely nowhere after beating down sun. It's been very funny weather today. We might start to hear the pitter-patter of rain on our roof. Then and I have been umming and ahhing all afternoon whether we should take it off or not. And here comes the rain. So, good thing we didn't. I don't think she's going to go up the tree now. I think she's just fiddling around at the bottom. Funny little thing. Looking at Mom. And we can't really see what Mom's reaction, whether she's snarling or not. Doesn't really know what to do with herself. Oh, we can hear the wind picking up now. I just have to be on the game drive radio for a little bit. And there are some now. Oh! Just wait, let's just watch, see if she goes higher. No, she's just going through and around the other side. Okay, I'm going to sit here for a little bit longer, but there are quite a few people who will want to come see her now that they're in an accessible spot. So I'm going to send you across to Rolf, who's still talking about the little blood-sucking ticks.
Yes, and what do we call blood drinkers or blood feeders? We call them sanguinivores. There's a lovely term. Not an easy one to say, but sanguinivore or sanguinivore. If you drink blood, that's what you'd be called. Now, that little red tick that we had, he wouldn't stay still for us, so we can't keep him under the microscope. I released him into the bush to go and find something to suck some blood from. But what I would like to do is I'd like to just show you what the adult phase is over there. That is what the adult looks like, and what you would see basically on a lot of animals. You do sometimes see the red one in that nymph phase, but that over there being the adult. Now, we always need to be careful Djuma, it is pretty much these common blue ticks that do give Lyme's disease, and it's all to do with that bacteria on their mouth parts, and it's the same with the tick bite fever. It's a lot to do with that mouth parts, and a lot also what they sometimes inject to stop the blood from coagulating. A little bit similar to that of the mosquito, the Anopheles giving you malaria, and also, just the mouth parts and a little bit of injection to keep the blood flowing, that it doesn't clot and cause a scab. So that is, the bad news about those things, but a good controlling factor within the ecosystems. Right. Kaya, you asking exactly what I'm just starting to talk about. Ticks, controlling factors in the ecosystem. And what they do is, if you would find ticks on animals regardless of resources, etc. They're always there. Every year we have lots of ticks. But what they do is, if there is, for instance, a drought, or there's overpopulation of animals, ticks are one of the helpers to decrease populations, because the animals won't be affected by those ticks that are on them unless they become weak for whatever reason. Maybe they're not getting enough water, maybe they're not getting enough food, and then those ticks on them start to have an effect, and the weak amongst that population of animals will start to die off. And so we have starting to have natural selection, survival of the fittest. When the resources become better again, or more, or increase, then we start to have the strongest genes passing through to the next generation. That is true natural selection at its best. Now, I do want to just move over to the microscope again, because I've just gone and collected a couple of grass species, which now I think half of them have blown away in the wind. There's one or two of them there, but I do want to just switch over, because I want to have a nice close look. I haven't been able to use a microscope with these different grass species, and I've just got three. I've got a buffalo grass and a herringbone grass, which looks like a little bit of a spider's web, an old one in there, and some blue seed grass. So it's very common grass species that we have around here, but I want to have a look at their seeds in particular, because they're all seeding at the moment, flowering and seeding, and we don't often get to look so close at grass species. So let's have a quick look while the other guys are still trying to find the animals and so on. Let's have a look at a lovely little seed husk there. So that is now the blue seed grass, and you can see why they call it a blue seed grass, and you can hardly get to see that when we just look at it with the naked eye. That is a lovely seed husk with the seed on the inside, and that's what all the little termites and ants would be taking down into their nest, and they feed on the little husk, and then they store those seeds, and they actually form a very important part of the ecosystem then, because then that will come back when if we have any time of drought, etc. So that is now very interesting there, isn't it indeed? So that was the blue seed grass, and as I say, very difficult to see that beautiful color with the naked eye. Now, let's go over to another one, which is the herringbone grass. And as I say, it's got a little bit of a spider's web, an old one in there. So I'd like to have a look at that one underneath the microscope. Let's go under there. Let's put it under there and see what we can find. I think there's a little carcass of an insect as well. Just need to get it in the right spot. But see, there's a little carcass of an insect which has been eaten by a spider, and let's just try and focus that a little bit better. And there we are. But you see all that little webs and everything. It's quite intricate, but it's almost like wheat in that you get that we use as humans. You know, the wheat grass as well. And so this one looks like it's expelled most of its seeds. But nice to get a nice close look at a herringbone grass. Okay, now there's just one more that I want to have a look at, and that is obviously the buffalo grass. So that one, and all three of these grasses are not very palatable. They're almost a pioneer species. So they're in areas where it's a little bit disturbed, and possibly just trying to fix that soil up a little bit and get into the next succession stage. Okay, it seems while I'm going to just get this under the microscope and have a good look at it, let's head on over to Steve with a running massive animal.
A massive animal indeed. We have got the southern giraffe. There is two of them there, another one closer to picture, and he seems very interested in her. You can just tell that by the body language. He is following her around like a lost puppy, and male giraffe will compete with each other for the rights to mate with females, and I've seen them follow the female for days and days and days, trying to, obviously, with all his might, mate with her. You can see he's licking his lips in anticipation. He might in the next moment or two bend his head down to test and have a sniff, to assess where she is on the reproductive stage. This other giraffe who's about to join them, she already looks rather pregnant. You can see her belly is quite round. So I would say she's pregnant if you compare her to the other. But she doesn't want to lose out on the assistance of the visuals that the other giraffe will have, so she'll probably follow behind. Not before she has a little munch first of a little branch. Alan girl, yes, giraffe are absolutely beautiful, and they are many people's favorite. You only need to spend some time at the Johannesburg International Airport or Oliver Tambo and see how many people buy these wooden carved giraffe to take home with them. This is probably one of the strangest and most unique animals on the planet. And so, yes, indeed, they're very elegant, and their eyelashes are the envy of absolutely every woman out there. And you can see the purpose of the eyelashes. It's not a thorny tree, but they stick their long nose and face right in there to feed, and the eyelashes actually protect their eyes against any branches or thorns that might occur. You can see how with her very prehensile tongue she's just stripping the branches there, feeding quite fast, and she'll do the rumination later. Giraffe, don't forget, is a four-chambered stomach animal, so they will feed in short bouts and then spend a long time ruminating so as to maximize the vegetation. It also minimizes the amount of time spent out actively feeding, which is a very important element to the behavior of ruminants out here. It means that they can feed when conditions are cooler, and in the heat of the day they can spend time sheltering, ruminating at the same time. Davi, would you mind just having a look at those two giraffe on the left there, and have a look at how easily recognizable their ears are from the back. You can see as the giraffe are moving, their position and their intention is very obvious. There's a follow me signal for them with their ears. And Norman wants to know, is a true giraffe have no voice? Norman, I was discussing this at length this morning. Unfortunately you missed that, but a lot of people think giraffes are mute, and they don't make a lot of noise, but when they are being attacked by lions, you'd be surprised the noises that they make. They will make an enormous bellow when they are in trouble, and I have heard them snort before, but they invariably don't make too much of a sound. Oh, I could hear some lesser striped swallows flew over. Jessica, I've never known of a giraffe to be collared. If there's any research purposes behind it. Oh, that female on the other side there, Davy, is giving the male a bit of a battering with her own head. She's a female, and she has gone behind him and was treating him as if he were a male, or if she was a male. Wonder what that was all about. You can see the intention in his face, can't you? You can't leave her alone. You can see the difference in ossicone sizes, the horns on the top of the head. The males are much thicker, and he's going to follow her for days. There we go. He's going to test and ascertain where she is. Females will often watch the males compete, and then we'll choose the bigger and stronger male for mating, because that is the genes they want to pass on. Not sure if you can hear the impala off to our right making their endless gurgling, roaring sound for this time of year. Marvelous to have a giraffe. We had a few this morning and a few more now this afternoon. Minamu, no, you say giraffe have two hearts. They've got one heart, just like us, but it's a double chambered heart, just like ours, one pushing blood to the lungs and one pushing it, or receiving it from the lungs, and one pushing it to the brain. So the thing is with the aortic side, aortic chamber that pushes it up to the brain, I forget what that's called, the thickness of the wall is actually correlated to the length of the neck. So essentially, like when you squeeze water in your hand, it's quite high pressure. The giraffe has evolved a heart that the side of the heart that pushes blood to the brain, I think it's called the aortic, I forget, but it pushes blood to the brain, and the wall in there is very thick with a very small chamber inside, and you can actually correlate the length of the neck with the thickness of that wall to enable to push that blood very high pressure up into the head. Very, very different from many other hearts, because the hearts don't have to push blood as far, and the best way to get pressure is to increase the cell wall, or the heart wall, and decrease the volume at a time. So just like when you're doing piping, you can quite easily increase the pressure in pipes from just decreasing from a large to a small pipe without doing anything other than allowing for gravity to feed it. And so you can change the pressure there quite nicely. So the giraffe has got the two valves, obviously the one coming from the lungs much smaller, or the thickness, and correlated with the wall, the other side pumps it all the way up to the head, which enables them to get blood moving through the body all the time. Okay, well, it seems as if Brent has got both his cats in the open. Fantastic. Let's go have a look.
Well, they've just disappeared down into the drainage line again. You can just see them disappearing through the thickets there. But their kill is in the tree just up ahead. So if you go up, you'll see there's a big milkberry there. The kill's in the tree there. But they've just literally disappeared down here again. Sorry, guys.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, well, good luck. Maybe from the other side. Sorry, someone else was coming to have a look, because the leopards have been in an area that only our little car has been able to get into. I think so, yes. In certain areas, leopards definitely have a preference for certain trees. So as I say, we've seen them put kills in. I've seen a different leopard put a kill in that very same milkberry. But normally it's the closest, easiest tree. So if it happens to be close to a tree that they used before, that they quite enjoy using, then they will use it. But other than that, it's the closest, most convenient tree. Milkberries are a big, or a very popular one with quite a few different leopards, especially the female leopards, because there are a lot of branches, so it's easier for them to get purchased and climb up. With big male leopards, we'll see them take big carcasses up into much higher, much harder to climb trees. Well, they have disappeared down into the drainage there, but VM and I are feeling lucky, aren't we, VM? Are we going to try a little roll of the dice at Asana? VM says yes. Okay, so while we just head off from here to try see where little Asana might be, let's send you back to Rolf, who's got a third grass species to show you.
Well, yes, everyone, it was the third grass, but I've just... Craig, my cameraman, just noticed that, sorry, I'm just trying to turn this around because the wind is blowing here, and I'm just trying to get this focused now nicely, and I know now you're looking at me from that side, but no, I'm going to change this because we were looking at, there was a little spider in some of the grass there, and we were just trying to see. I'm going to go and put him back shortly in the grass so that we can look at that nicely, let him go on his way, but I'm just now going to put the third grass underneath so that we can look at these seed husks. Let me just get this into focus nicely. Sorry, I'm just getting the focus. There we are. Okay. And it's coming past. Now, there we go. So, they're very nice little seed husks that we have with the seed obviously on the inside there. And this buffalo grass with a very pink sort of outer color to it. And there's little flowers there on the top. So, it is absolutely fascinating to get this close up to these grass species, and they make such a difference in our lives. I mean, grass, if we didn't have grass, well, we wouldn't have bread, we wouldn't have beer, we wouldn't have rice, we wouldn't have bamboo, we wouldn't have reeds, so grass is very, very, very important, and I think we underestimate how important. But nice to see little seeds like that. I've never seen anything like it that close. So wonderful. The blue seed grass, the herringbone grass that we saw, and now the buffalo grass. So that's wonderful. And well, we're still sitting here in the tent. The clouds have come back. So that's why we started out in the tent. It's been a really wishy-washy day. This morning, the rain came out of nowhere. Then it cleared up. There was sunshine. Just before the drive, we were going to be going out on a walk, and it started spitting again. So we took cover in the tent. It hasn't rained, but it's just started spitting again now. So, and the clouds are closing in again. This front really is... Look at that. It's coming and going. There's lots of rain clouds, the cumulus, as we call them, building up into a bit of the cumulonimbus clouds, and it's really seeming a bit ominous. And we'll hope for the rain, but who knows? Let's head on over to Steve, who I think is also looking into the rain.
There's no rain. What are you talking about? I don't know what I just spotted over there. No, it is just a bush. We are searching for elephants. There was a call of elephants coming down to Vuyatela Dam. And normally they're quite easy to see if they're not in the thickets. But not a single track or anything. I'm thinking whoever was telling me maybe was confused or what dam he was at. Should we go this way, Darby? Let's go this way around. The reports were there was a large breeding herd of elephants coming down towards the dam. We were just at the dam. Should we go back? How did we miss them? We were just there. Those giraffe you saw us with were at the dam. Skinny elephants, yeah, Bex, that is a very good possibility, but we were just there. And I was like, how can we not see the largest land mammal in a herd? Anyway, let's go back. If the zoomies are saying we've got elephants on the dam cam, if that's happening right now, then I am very surprised. They have been working on their camouflage, very good. Maybe it's been such a gloomy day that they just disappeared. Okay, so Bex, if you can tell me what side of the dam cam they are reportedly on. Because I was thinking that Alan, who told us about it, to the left of the dam cam, okay, that is where we were parked a few moments ago. Okay, so we were parked there, left of the dam cam with those giraffe. You suffered, folks, is that what happened? And I've put on a few kilograms, but... Okay, well there goes the giraffe again. They've gone into the thickets up there. Still could see the male bending his neck down. Okay. Oh, Luke, I only missed the run today. Luke is the new director, and he's giving me a hard time because I didn't go running today. But in all fairness, Luke, you didn't come and remind me. I was having a little rest. Normally I'm good to go if you just come and knock on the door. We've also got to get used to this extra time change, extra hour in our day. We finish half an hour later. We start half an hour earlier. That's quite a big sort of chunk out of the day, but it means we get more sleep at night. Well, that's supposed to mean that. Okay, so folks, we are back at Vuyatela Dam, and now I would like any of you to tell me where these mysterious elephants are, because how could they not be visible? This is bizarre. Okay, so apparently we're getting reports in that the elephants were here 20 minutes ago. So I think where we were going towards Gallagher Pan on the other side of the lodges was probably a good bet, eh, Darby? It was, because there's nothing. I mean, a herd of elephants doesn't just jump over the road. We had nothing on this side. Maybe I'm not seeing very clearly today. The light is fading, but normally I'm able to spot elephants and their tracks. Normally something I'm quite good at. It's okay, we'll carry on. Okay, Tammy Zumi, you've given us another clue to where they might be. So it looks like we're going back over the dam wall really quickly, because they apparently went that way. So no idea how we have missed their tracks coming through. They probably moved through the drainage, dry river system here. The entire time we were talking about the giraffe, they were probably slowly moving away into the thickets. This is where we had Davy and myself had Hosanna the other day on foot. So excited, and he was sitting right here while Dave was, Seb and James were parked here. We were so excited. That, folks, for me is still my favorite and best leopard sighting in my entire life. Hey, Davy? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Okay, so we would like to show you some elephants. So while we are searching for them, it appears that Brent is given up on his 2 leopards and is now going to look for my leopard.
Indeed. Well, just while Tlalamba is still so young, even though the kill is in the tree, I generally, as it gets a little bit darker, I tend to move on. And also, I think if Hosanna is hungry, he might be on the hunt with all these rutting Impala around. So we're doing a quick, careful search on the western edge of quarantine. Binoculars under all my jerseys that I haven't, well, we've been thinking about using. No, it is a stick on top of a termite mound. Who knows, maybe Hosanna wants to visit the lovely ladies of Safari Live at their rooms again tonight. He's done it before. Rebecca and Kirsten found him when they were on their way to bed, and he looked at them through the sliding door. And they didn't want to be his friend, Tusk, Rebecca and Kirsten. Such a friendly chap, little Hosanna. Now, of course, they were being correct. They should err on the side of a caution with the big cat at night on foot next to your room. Didn't we see him later that night? Yes, we did. He walked past the... VM and I were outside having a chat, and he walked past the back of FC. And Rebecca says he looked so sad and lonely. And meanwhile, Rebecca was thinking, you look so lovely and tasty. But not in the way you would like, Rebecca, not in the way you would like. Yes, you are lovely and you are tasty, but Hosanna was after something a bit different that night. So, I said, if I was Hosanna, I would be somewhere here close to the edge of quarantine, because at any moment those male Impala rutting might chase one another right into these thickets here. So there's a couple of good termite mounds around here that if I was the little chief, I'd be sitting on top of, staring, waiting, salivating. That's why I'm just stopping with my binos and checking all these little termite mounds as we go past, because in this low light it can be very tricky. So he is not there. at that sort of slightly awkward stage where it's not quite dark enough yet for a spotlight, but your eyes are still your best option, but you do definitely have to concentrate a little bit more at this time of the day. It's the time of the day where safari guests are traditionally sipping on a G&T. See, there's one of those male impala that Hasana, you see him between the trees, Vim? There he is. You can hear them rutting all over the place. Now, leopards absolutely adore the rutting season because the boys are so focused on either fighting with each other or keeping their little or their group of females together that they get snacked upon by lions and leopards. Now, Thandi happened to catch a female, and it's possible a male might have been trying to chase that female and corral her towards his group when he chased her smack bang into the tooth and claw of our beloved one. Okay, so this is the spot that I'm thinking if I was Hasana, I would be keeping my eye on all the potential prey chasing each other around on quarantine. Right on this little edge here, there's lots of nice spots for him to hide, and it's close enough that if those males really got into it, they would end up with the Hasana around the neck. Which, as lovely as it sounds, Hasana doesn't give nice hugs because his hugs come with claws and teeth. Well, now Hasana's getting to that stage where we probably are not going to see him as much anymore. Miss Alamandris, he is going to be pushed out of this area by the bigger, more dominant males. There's tracks on the road. Nope. And what will happen is he will sometimes move as far as a couple of 100 kilometers from his birth area, and he's not going to return to his birth area, Miss Alamandris. Now, there's a very important reason for that. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, it's just very unlikely, and leopards are designed not to return to their birth area once they are adult males. Now, if you think about it, the females in this area, Thandi and Kuchava and Tlalamba, when she gets a bit older, all share quite a lot of genetics with him. So his genetic drive, his instinctual drive, will push him as far away as possible from the area where he's going to be related to a lot of the leopards. And in doing that, that means he'll be able to spread his genetic line. Remember, he's sharing quite a bit of that with those other leopards into areas where that genetic line might not be before, might not have got to before. So it is very important for him to leave his natal area or his birth area. He's not sitting on any of the termite mounds, Vim. Ah, very interesting. Rolf has got a dung beetle who looks like he's had a weekend at a little girl's party and has been covered in gold dust.
Yes, it does look a lot like gold dust, doesn't it? Glitter is all over this little dung beetle, but it is, I'm moving it a little bit just so that you get an impression of, there's the head, and then as we go, now obviously this little dung beetle is decomposing, so I have a feeling that this is a lot of fungus that is now growing on this little dung beetle because it's been in a little jar, and very interesting, very yellow type fungus, like powdery, almost like toadstool-ish stuff there. And it's always interesting to have a look at a dung beetle from underneath. And this even more interesting with all of this fungus type stuff, fungus or lichen or very microorganism-y type stuff. And look at all those little hairs on the end of the legs as well, and look at it as we move out there as well. And so now, well, everyone, it's also very interesting because I know that there was a very big thing about dung beetles in Australia because they had a problem with kangaroo dung. And because they had an infestation of kangaroos, and I'm not exactly sure on the exact details, and you're welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but the story goes something along the lines of they had so much kangaroo dung that it was becoming a problem because they didn't have any way of really turning it into the soil and so on. So they started a dung beetle project, and they introduced all of these dung beetles, but obviously with there being found that there were all sorts of parasites, mites on dung beetles, they decided to sterilize them. And Australia has very strict rules for importing anything biological or organic, with good reason, because obviously they're going to damage the local wildlife if they just go ahead and bring all sorts in. It would be great if all the countries had similar rules and regulations. But so what they did was they sterilized all the dung beetles, and after release to try and work all of this dung into the soil from the kangaroos, they found that all the dung beetles died, and they couldn't work out why. And so they started to look very closely at the dung beetles, and they worked out that there was some little mites that lived on or around the mouth parts that were actually helping them to keep themselves clean from all the organic stuff that they would be eating. And that's where I need correction, because I'm not exactly sure on what those little mites were doing. So if any of you know, you can please let me know. But the problem was with sterilizing them, they were killing these little mites that were forming a real symbiotic relationship with the dung beetles. And so much so that it is obligatory that the one can't survive without the other. So by killing the little mites, they in turn signed the death warrant of the dung beetles themselves. But very interesting, dung beetles being coprophagic, so coprids, if we can say that. And when you look at a different dung site, you will always have the dung beetles. You've got a couple of different groups of dung beetles, one being the paracoprid, who will take the dung directly below the site of where the dung is. We've got the telecoprids, which are the very famous ones that make the big balls and roll them away. We've got the endocoprids, which would make their little nest within the dung itself. And then we've got the kleptoparasites, the ones that wait for another dung beetle to roll his ball away, and they come in and steal it. The clever ones as such. Right, so dung beetles, one of the other heroes of the bush, like the aardvark that I was chatting about yesterday. But let's head on over to Steve, who is also another hero of the bush.
Oh, I am a hero of the bush. Why, thank you, Ralph Kirsten. We have managed to come around this really big block following along the Milwati drainage river system itself, and you can't see it very clearly. If you look closely, there's a black blob behind the bush, and the one bush is moving. We have managed to find that small herd of elephant. I say small now because I've only seen about 5, but there's probably more than that. There's a leg, it moved. We are in infrared, so the gentle grey giants appear quite dark in colour. But there we go, he's moving, or she's moving. And we've positioned ourselves in a way, hopefully, to get them to come out towards us. They are perfectly relaxed, they're feeding very gently as they're moving, and it was my thought that they would be following this drainage system. And thank you to the Zoomies for your information about their direction. And yes, I am sure they were at the dam a very long time ago. Hopefully we get them soon. There we can see a tusk. Indeed, we have found an elephant. Hooray, hooray. you can already see the change in the diet from one of almost exclusively grass in the last few months to now you can see eating some shrubs and some forbs there. Unique, thank you for your kind words. Yes, I'm also very happy we found them. There's another female coming through the side here, Davy. She might come out in the open there. As he stopped feeding. She's still feeding on a bit of grass. Well, this is marvelous that we can still see them as it is getting quite dark. There we go. Still a high proportion of grass going into the diet at the moment, and their very prehensile trunk enables them to be very selective. Even though they are a bulk feeder, they can also be very selective in exactly what they want. You can see how it's moving the trunk through the grass. They're trying to find the ones that smell really tasty. And I've really learned that after many years, which grasses are which, and they don't even see what they're doing. They just sort of move the trunk through and kind of grab almost blindly, but because their sense of smell is so amazing, they know exactly what they're picking out. Female to the left, you can just see her tusks there. She's busy feeding on a small termite mound. The grasses that are growing there are obviously more nutritious than those growing around, and she knows that. She can smell it, she can taste it, and it's much better for her. There she comes. Yes, Djuma, they are enormous and so gentle and so quiet in the African wilderness. Now you can see that tail, very easy to see how the tail is soft and wagging. Now if you can hear, I don't know if you can hear, but we can just gently hear the movement of bushes as they are feeding, and that is a telltale sign that elephants are relaxed. If you can hear elephants just munching away and branches and grass moving, even if it's at night when you can't see them, then you know everything's fine. But if you can see them, and you see the tail wagging like that, everything is good. Switch your car off and just enjoy the moments with the big pachyderms, because there's no aggression being shown. Those little youngsters, they're learning. The best grass grows in the semi-shade. Sitting bull, I mean, it's not dangerous being around elephants in the dark. Shining lights on them can potentially affect them and cause them a little bit discomfort. But often in my life, I've been with students or with guests, smashing the trees. I've been with guests and you just... Fantastic, you can hear that. Just listen for a moment. That's one female there. She was moving some branches to get access to the grass that's growing underneath it. And then there's this female who's on top of the termite mound, and she seems to be demolishing what looks like, I think, there's a buffalo thorn that's growing on the termite mound, and you'll see that her youngster is right next to her and learning. Ooh, Mum, that grass tastes nicer than the other grass I had. And then slowly over many years, the youngsters learn all they need to from their mothers, and then they pass on that information to their daughters and sons as they go. Here we go, she's pulling the branch out. She's now going to practice something called corkscrewing. As she puts it in her mouth, she's going to twist the branch to get access to the beautiful cambium underneath. And because the branch twists, no, she didn't want too much of it, just a little bite. Just a little bite of the bark is all she needed there. But that kind of behavior that you saw with the branches, sorry about the pole here. She's right here, Mino. What makes it so multifaceted? Well, elephants, the trunk, it's kind of got two little fingers on the end of it, which enable them to grab things. Obviously, it's an extension of their nose, and there are multiple, or many, I reckon 100,000 muscles in the elephant's trunk. They've got them going down the left side, going down the right side, going down the back, and going down the front. And it takes them a good 2 years to learn how to use it. And it takes them quite a few years more to be very efficient at using it with the tusks at the same time as sometimes holding and kicking the grass to get the roots. But it takes time. They have to learn how to use it, just like we have to learn how to use our knife and fork. Never seen a baby that's managed to master putting food in its mouth with a fork for the first few months. It takes a bit of time to get the coordination, should I say. And the trunk is used for everything, for drinking, for smelling, for feeding, for communication, for touching, tactile communication. So they are very, very special. And many times in my life, you've come across elephants like this, and you just switch the car off and allow them to just move in and around the vehicle. And it is really so gentle. So to get back to the question, are they dangerous after dark? No. If the elephants, when you get into the area, if they stop feeding or they start reacting to something, then it's best in the dark to just rather leave. I'm sorry about the pole. We do have the roof on. It's best to just rather leave the area. But when they're feeding like this and they're relaxed, it's absolutely marvelous to get sort of trapped in the middle and let them move around, and you just see the shapes emerging out of the darkness. Sometimes you don't even have to see them. Just the hearing of the belly rumbles and the communication that they're doing as they move in and around the bushes. But let's go over to Brent and see if he's had any luck on finding the little chief.
You should hear, although you should hear about the belly rumbles and communications that happen in our camp just before meal times. It's quite scary. Now you'll notice that I am not in IR yet, because I have not spotted anything to view in IR. But if we were to spot the little chief right now, we would switch immediately. Last termite mound, and he's not there. Darn it. I was hoping this might be the spot where he was keeping an eye on all the rutting Impala. You can see some quite nice colours to the west as we head into darkness. Now, if I were watching the dam cam a lot, I would be keeping a close lookout for our little chief over tonight. There's a very strong possibility he might appear on that camera this evening. Let's just have a quick look down there. Oh, I was hoping maybe. Well, the drive is not over yet, and I don't like giving up. Okay, but I know you would much rather spend your time looking at one of my favorite animals in infrared and listening to all the magnificent noises they make.
Yes, well, we've just moved up a few meters. Apparently Brent was not able to have any luck with Hosanna. So, I'm not saying I'm happy about that, but we found some elephants, which we're very happy about. Djuma, that's a very good question. I mean, when you shine lights at elephants, they don't reflect. Their eye doesn't reflect back like all the other animals that we see. The tapetum lucidum, that reflective layer on the back of the iris that helps most animals see very well at night. Elephants don't have that, just like rhino, humans and apes don't exhibit that because we're not meant to see at night. But elephants, I believe personally, their eyesight is semi-okay, but I think they move through the wilderness at night by smell alone. That is my opinion. I think they know exactly where they're going. They can smell the ground, the soil, the trees. They can smell the tracks. They can smell exactly where they've been walking. They know the pathways. So I don't think their eyesight is that used at night. So they haven't needed to evolve to have the specialized sort of tapetum lucidum, the reflective layer on the back. And so I think most of it's done through hearing, knowledge or memory, and then smell. But it has been a marvelous afternoon here in Djuma in the Sabi Sands. Ralph, I believe, blowing it away in the tent. He was a bit hesitant at first, and I said, "Don't worry, Ralph, I think you will enjoy it." And I think he has. And Brent finding Tlalamba and Thandi with her kill, which is fantastic, and ending the afternoon game drive. Sunset tomorrow morning. We are starting half an hour later than we normally do. we get another 30 minutes of sleep. And unfortunately, if that's too late for some of you, but that is the winter time. Thank you from all of us here in the Sabi Sands Wilder for joining us. Please join us tomorrow morning, bright and early. We'll see you then. Good night.